Alejandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me at the market site in Times Square, we have Paolo Gallo. He's the CEO of Italgas. We're going to take a look at how the industrial sector is transforming with digitization and advanced analytics. It's so great to have you with us here in New York. Welcome to the market site. How long have you been in your role in Italgas and other roles, and how has the industry evolved?
Well, I joined Italgas back in August 2016, and I helped immediately the merging from SNAM, create the new organization, and even looking for the new headquarters because we were moving out of SNAM. And so I've been there nearly 3 years, and I've seen all the evolution of the Italgas activity since then. Previously, before joining Italgas, I was CEO of Grandi Stazioni. Grandi Stazioni owns the largest railway station in Italy, and I stayed there for 2 years, and I oversaw the privatization, the full privatization of the company that's been extremely successful. But before that, I started my career in Fiat Avio, that is the aero engine division of the Fiat Group at the time, and I've been there for 13 years, covering different role and responsibility. And then back in '97, I moved into the energy sector. I was CEO of Fiat Energia. That was the vehicle that Fiat used to take over of Monte Edison. And so I found myself after the takeover inside the Edison Group, where I stayed for 10 years. And then I moved to Roma to manage the multi-utility in Roma, quite difficult job. That is involved in energy, in waste, in water treatment, so quite a true multi-utility.
All right, now what are some of your top priorities, some of the biggest challenges leading Italgas?
Well, the top priority and the biggest challenge is the, let me say, the innovation that we are bringing into the company. We will talk probably more in detail later. Why it is a big challenge? First of all, because we are a company who has reached 182 years of age.
Oh, wow.
So it was founded when Italy did not exist in 1837, and then it developed, changing many times the business. So now we are trying to inject all the new technology, so bringing new technology into the company, providing the people with new technology, digitizing the network, digitizing our asset. But it's even more than that. It's really a digital transformation. It's a change management that we are trying to bring into the company, and that is the most exciting from a certain point of view, but the most challenging is the most challenging fact that we have in front of us.
So in addition to digitization, big data, advanced analytics, industrial, Internet of Things, it's really transforming all of the industrial sector. How is that impacting gas distribution and Italgas specifically?
Let me say that the gas distribution sector has been considered, and it probably is still considered, quite old and traditional. There are also physical reasons for that. Because if you compare it with the electricity distribution, they have a clear advantage because you can put any appliance on the electrical network and you have the energy to supply. You can transfer data through the wire. Of course, we cannot use that for obvious and safety reasons in the gas. So until, let me say, 5 years ago, the cost of the battery and the life of the battery that we are using to transmit and to transmit data and to supply energy to our appliance was high, the cost of the battery, and the life was very low. Now we are in the opposite situation. The cost of the battery has dropped significantly, and the life is longer. Similar to the transmission of data, we use SIM data to transmit data from our IoT sensor on the field, and years ago, it was very costly to do that. Now it's not anymore. So what we have done in the last couple of years, we are replacing all our traditional meters with smart ones. We are talking about 7.5 million meters, and that program will be completed by next year. But that is not enough to make our grid digital, our network digital. We are going to replace all our intermediate pressure reduction stations that are traditional with digital one. We are talking about 8,000 over our 8,000 stations. We are going to install valves that are remotely controlled. We are going to install components that measure the pressure in the different points of the grid, and they are remotely controlled. So we are making a true digital network. It will take us between a couple of years to do all that. We are going to invest 1 billion euro in the next 3 years. At the end of that cycle, we'll have a real digital network, probably the most advanced, also in comparison with the electrical one. And then we will have millions of devices, the IoTs, on the field that will transmit billions of data to us. So what to do with the data? No? That's I think, is your question. Our idea, first of all, we will put into operation in a couple of weeks our new control center that will collect all the data from the field. But even more than that, we have started last November our digital factory that is a true factory that produce application and is in charge to, once that all the data are coming to the center, those data should be used, should be analyzed, should be evaluated. And they will develop the algorithm to evaluate those data and to give to the operation the possibility to manage differently the network. To make an example, instead of replacing pipes that are maybe older or because they break, we are going to replace pipes based on predictive maintenance. So depending which is the real situation of the material, we are going to replace it in advance to prevent leakage, for example. So it will be a completely different management of the network in respect to the past. And the data is the only way that we can do it. Using the data is the only way in which we can change the way that we manage the grid.
All right, and those investments will certainly pay off for sure. Let's talk about decarbonization and sustainability to wrap up here. How has that transformed the energy and gas business, and then where does it take you in the new industrial era?
Well, we had recently the chairman of our regulation, of our regulatory authority, that has declared which is the role of the gas in the future. He said clearly that the gas is an unavoidable vector in the transition toward decarbonization. He said that the gas and infrastructure in particular are fundamental if we want to use the renewable gases or if we want to storage the energy. Because one of the problems in the decarbonization era is that with all the renewable, we will have a lot of production that is not always you cannot plan when the wind blows or when the sun shines. And therefore you may have the need, and there is the clear need of storage. And the storage today is something that the battery are not able to resolve because you have to have two big batteries in order to really create a storage for the electricity network. And the power to gas, so the transforming of the water into hydrogen and then recombining the hydrogen with CO2, with the captured CO2, you produce synthetic gas. And that is a very effective way to store the energy with unlimited space. Because once that the gas is produced, then you inject the gas into the transportation or distribution or the storage, and you have a huge quantity of storage. So the way to decarbonize our society, the only way is to use what we have, the infrastructure, like the gas infrastructure, in order to use them for deploy the renewable gases and to use them as a storage for the energy. So our industry will change, there's no doubt. We'll help in the decarbonization path. To do that, you have to have a digital network.
Right.
Otherwise, you will never be able to manage. If you continue to manage the network in the very traditional way, you will never be able to, for example, create the power to gas situation or to accept the renewable gases into the network itself.
All right, Paolo, thank you so much for spending time with us at MarketSite. And thank you for joining me on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.